Hi folks, it's Rich here, novice noisemaker extraordinaire, crap at guitars like gear. And talking of gear, look at this. What have we got here? You can just about see, look, it is a 4x8, it's a Blackstar HT1-R. But no, firstly, if you're new here, as I said, I just like guitars. I've had 200 and something guitars. There's a playlist if you want to see reviews on guitars from £80 to £1,000, they're all in there. And speaking of guitars, I've got two new Harley Bentons arriving next week. One is a brand new model and one is an old model revisited. Yes. Anyway, this is the first time I've bought a head and a cab. I've been wanting to do this for ages because, well, they just look cool and it's proper, you know, a cab and a head and all that stuff. And I really liked my HT1-Rs that I've had before, the combos in the little box. They sound good for what they are, but not as good as they could do. And several people have said, yeah, get the cab and a head. And so anyway, here we are. So this is the Mark 1 here. So it doesn't have the foot switch that's optional. I think on the Mark 2, you've got 2 cleans and 2 overdrives, and you can use the foot switch and go between the two. You don't get that on this. There's no effects loop, which I'll come back to in a second. But what you do get is an MP3 or a line in here, emulated out and headphone socket, and that's the big jack, the chunky size ones. They're what size they are. You get a reverb, the EQ, which is Blackstar's ISF, so more British one side, more American the other. So sort of brighter mid-range and darker and less scooped on one side, and which I'll also come back to. Volume, overdrive channel, and gain. Now I'll come back to the effects loop for a second. Oh no, wait, jumping around here. The cab. So you can get a 1x12 Blackstar cab for this. This is 4x8, and the speakers have been upgraded in this to Celestion G8C 15s. Now I've just paid £100 for all of this. The Celestion speakers, I saw the box is on the floor at the guy's house. Hi Waj, if you're watching, lovely chap. So I've seen that he's replaced them. They're about £35 a speaker. So there's £140 in the speakers, let alone the cab and the head. These heads go for 60-ish quid these days, 60, maybe 70. And it's immaculate. And the cabs go for 80, 90 pounds. So I was kind of expecting to pay 150 for it. But yeah, on eBay, and I had to go and pick it up. It's an hour away. £100, absolute bargain. And yes, so I'll come quickly to the EQ first, and the reason for that is on the small cab, when you get the combo, fashionably out of tune, the difference between one side and the other isn't as stark as it is with this, and I guess because the speakers are a lot deeper and more rich, they've got more ability. This is my PRS SE Swamp Ash. I've just got that on the neck pickup on full humbucker mode. In tune according to that, the installation's probably off, but that's me. So yeah, just a E chord. That's with the EQ in the middle. I'll put it over to the British. Over to the American, and you'll hear immediately a lot darker. Appreciate it's just an iPhone, so there's only so much that can show you. So you can hear, hopefully you can, how rich sounding that is. I've got my Catalyst 100 on the floor, which is now redundant. If anybody wants a Catalyst 100 in perfect condition, bar a scratch about as big as a pick, which I didn't do, in the Tolex on the side, everything else immaculate, £100. So I'll put the reverb up to half here. Top. Sounds good. Going back to the effects loop, I've been obsessing about effects loop because I've had one for a while on amps that I've had, and I like what that does. Obviously on this, you're going straight into the front of the amp. And apart from if I'm using the gain feature on this. Now, generally, I just use an amp as a pedal platform, as you know. I would like a modelling amp with a load of presets at some point, so I can just press something and sound a certain way, as I used to with my Fender Mustang LT25. That was a good amp for that. That's some nice presets. I still might, would like to do that at some point. But generally, nowadays I'm just using amp clean and putting pedals through it, and this is working just fine. If I use the overdrive on here and I put the delay pedal on, you'll hear it in a minute, it obviously changes the dynamics of how that sounds completely versus an effects loop. But I don't know what I was obsessing about quite so much, really. I mean, if it's good enough for Dave Simpson and Dave Gilmour, more to the point, going into the front of the amp, it's good enough for me. So, volume and gain. So, and this is pretty loud. This cab's rated at 60 watts, so I could put a different head to it. And the gain. It's gain on full, volume on half, and on the clean channel, American. Now I'll turn it down a bit and put the overdrive channel on. Quite noisy. You can hear that. It's noisy, isn't it? Really noisy. Volume up a bit. Gain up some more. Bridge on bucket. Obviously I'm right next to it. Back to a clean, chimey sound reverb. So yeah, it's let me give you a quick blast on a pedal. So this is Behringer. Where have I got the let's try this one. One thing I haven't done yet is reset my pedal settings from when I was using the Catas. The reverb I've had, bit more volume on here. So, and then I've got my EQ pedal just set as a boost. So my EQ pedal's got the bass up a touch, the volume at the top. that's just a quick demo. So my overall impressions, I really like it. It's very different to the Catalyst, of course. I mean, the Catalyst is 100 watts for a start. This is 1. But for 1 watt, it's got plenty of oomph and it's got a nice clean tone, all things considered. I've got to have my clean tone. I have the EQ, I've got it slightly over towards the treblier side, the volume on about half and the gain on about half. Yeah, it's got a nice clean tone to it. But yeah, I just really liking the feel and as Rabia likes to say, the vibe. The feel and the vibe of it. I'm well pleased I did it. At some point I might try, as the speakers can take a bit more, a bigger cab with it. And I appreciate these are only 8-inch speakers. A lot of people will be like, well, you need a 12 and all that stuff, and maybe you do, but impressed. What do you think? Have you got one of these? One thing I do need to do, I bought a Behringer Tube Overdrive, a discontinued pedal. It's got a purpley colour. Don't like that pedal. That's got to go. But yeah, let me know. If you've got one of these, it'd be great to hear from you.